got Sleepy Time Erin here and half drunk Josh.
Woo! This is going to be...
So it's going to be a great podcast. Yep.
Welcome to the You Haven't Seen That Podcast. This is Erin.
And this is Josh.
And today we are watching Pan's Labyrinth. And I got to tell you, I was not ready for this.
You're not ready for this film, were you?
No, I was not.
Yeah.
It kind of kicked my ass a little bit.
Did it? Yeah.
Gosh, I don't even know where I want to start with it because I just finished it today.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was something else. Normally I watch the movie like the day before or the day of the recording so that it's like super fresh in my mind. I have like notes and stuff, but it's really helpful for me to be able to like look back on it with a pretty fresh perspective. And so that was exactly it. I was busy with other stuff. I was like, okay, well, I definitely have to watch it today no matter what. So around, I don't know, like 2-3 o'clock, and we normally record in the evening, I went on to go find it, and it was not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, that is a little disappointing that it's not streaming anywhere, because I would say this is a pretty influential movie.
Well, and not to put too fine a point on it, but in the year of our Lord 2026, I think it's a pertinent one as well.
Yeah, because I personally feel like this is probably Del Toro's best film.
It was excellent.
Even though he wins the Academy Award for Shape of Water, which that movie it's good, but we would have never gotten that movie if he didn't make this movie. Because he's definitely the fantasy horror. I'd say he's more fantasy style of storytelling than horror. Like he likes to put some horror elements, but he's really into just imagination and just, you know, designing creatures. Because I think a lot of the creature designs are his art.
Oh, that's so cool then.
And so it's just his imagination. Like, I'll even say, like, when this movie came out, to me, 2006 was the most influential year of films for me as a filmmaker, because there were so many. After watching this movie, I wrote a huge list of films that were released in 2006 that had influenced me. So the listeners can't see it, but I'm showing Erin my list. There's probably over 20 films.
Exactly. Let's kick into the movie info. You
all right.
off.
It was released kind of towards the end of 2006. I think it was a limited release more widely in 2007. It is written and directed by Guillermo del Toro. It's his 6th film, mostly all Spanish-speaking crew and actors, except for one person, Doug Jones, who is the creatures.
And we're definitely talking about him.
About Del Toro, he refused a bunch of major directing jobs to do this movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, because of his success with Blade 2 and Hellboy. It sounds like this was his project he really wanted to work on. I think I read somewhere that he had been working on this movie since 1993. And, like, you know, this movie came out in 2006, so he's been working on this movie for
over 10
a long time. Movie's about really 3 characters, I think. Ophelia, Mercedes, and Captain Vidal. We follow Ophelia in kind of the fantasy story. Mercedes and Captain Vidal kind of go together with the Spanish Civil War that's happening in Spain.
Technically, the time period just after the end of the Spanish Civil War. I looked that up.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
because that's in the initial title card. It says that the Civil War is technically just over.
Yeah, because it's like 1944.
Yep.
Is when this like movie takes place. So it's really at the end of a lot of fascist regimes in Europe. So you know, World War II is ending or about to end, and then the Spanish Civil War. But yeah, that's really the info that I have for the movie right now. So yeah, let's get into some discussions about it.
Yeah. So I know that we like to start out with like, so what did Erin know about this movie before we started? And the 2 things I knew were Doug Jones.
Yeah.
Because I think, like, I was vaguely aware of him, kind of, you know, in the background of like the
Like
background radiation of life.
his acting?
His acting.
Okay.
I was kind of vaguely aware of his, him as like the background radiation of life kind of thing. Until a Star Trek Discovery, where he plays Saru.
Uh-huh.
I fucking love Saru. I love Doug Jones. He did such a good job with that. So I was very excited for that because I knew he was in this. And then like everybody knows I don't know what is he called, the Pale Man?
Yeah, it's the Pale Man.
With the eyes in his hands. And that is everything. Literally every single thing I knew about this movie.
Okay.
Oh, and it's directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. So Doug Jones works with Guillermo del Toro quite a bit because he's in the Hellboy movies.
Mm-hmm.
He plays Abe Sapien, which is the Aqua guy. And he does Doug Jones does a lot of creature like effects, like he's in costume a lot. I mean,
you said he's the creature in Shape of Water, right?
Yeah, he's the creature in Shape of Water. He does multiple creatures in Hellboy 2 alongside Abe Sapien. He's also the zombie in Hocus Pocus. That's him as well.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That is him.
What?
Yeah, he does a lot of those type of roles. That's
so wait a minute. Okay, so it's been a long time since I saw Hellboy, so I could be misremembering this, but like it sounds like most of his work is like not speaking roles.
Yeah, he doesn't get a lot of those. A lot of the decision making later on, because in this movie, obviously it's Spanish speaking, so he is not speaking Spanish. That is another actor. What I read was it's an actor that does plays, I think, in Spain, that voices over his parts.
Yeah, they mostly did a good job, but there were a couple parts where I could kind of tell that there was a bit of a dub situation, and I wasn't sure. I was like, okay, is this Doug Jones? And I'm just like, no.
It happens a lot to Doug Jones because it also happened in the first Hellboy. It's not his voice when he's doing his character. In Hellboy 2, it is. He doesn't get a lot of the speaking roles. I think it's a lot of decision is like the director or whatever doesn't like his voice, or it's some kind of decision that's made that
I wonder
they're
if maybe it's related to the prosthetic as well.
It could be.
I would imagine that's very limiting. I've heard that the prosthetics can be very claustrophobic as well.
Excuse me. What I was reading about when he's the fawn in this, because it's the horns and the ears. There's some kind of mechanics for I think it's the ears to move. That it said that it was so loud he could not hear the little girl during acting.
Oh.
During their scenes. So yeah, and that's the thing is like it's really cool to have all the prosthetics and the makeup and stuff, but it's such a hard job to do the acting and
no, he makes such great little choices. Even through the prosthetic, you can see like the acting coming through.
Yeah.
Well, and also the makeup itself, I think, was really good because he, on the one hand, he seems ethereal and beautiful, and also like scary and menacing.
Yeah, because he definitely has this wooden design to him.
Oh my gosh!
And you hear
his retrograde legs were fucking crazy.
Yeah, and you hear the sound of like wood creak every time he kind of moves. So I think that was a really great design to develop for this character. Yeah. To like feel like, huh, and it also gives kind of like, I guess you could say like an ancient feel to him. Like they've been waiting so long because I think I can't remember if they say like it's been like so many years since the princess has been away. Yeah, the fawn design was great. Obviously, you know, his leg. You mentioned his legs. They did the whole like green thing, green screen type thing.
Was it a green screen thing?
Yeah, so they
okay, because in my brain I was like, I think I can see what's happening with Doug Jones' legs, and it must be really hard to stand with that apparatus. But if it was a green screen, that almost makes more sense.
So that's kind of like the thing like they'll do is like they'll wrap it up in green or blue or whatever's the best for that like digital removal. I think they read that that was like the task that they did is they did the green and they had the whole design so that they could take that away.
Okay, because I know that he's done weird boot situations before, like. From my understanding, Saru is one of his less weird boot situations, and it was still a weird boot situation. Because he has basically... Saru, he basically is wearing, like, heelless heels. to make him like even taller than he already is, and he's already really fucking
Yeah, I
tall,
believe
isn't
he's
he?
pretty tall. I mean, he's a tall, skinny actor, so he could fit in a lot of like costume
Yeah, he already
styles.
has like an otherworldly quality to him, even
Yeah,
out of the makeup.
yeah,
And adding the makeup only makes him
yeah,
like that much more.
yeah.
Okay.
But he's like a skinny guy,
Yeah.
so that's good when they are like putting things. So
He must be crazy strong to like carry all of that stuff as well. Because
right,
that, like, the prosthetics themselves also must be so freaking heavy.
yeah. Kind of just depends on like what's being put on him. Like that's the thing that I have never explored. Like probably never will.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a completely
yeah, that's a
different.
whole nother department that people go to school or they
Mm-hmm.
know how to do. One of my favorite reality TV shows back in the day when I watched a little bit of reality TV, there was like a contest show called Face Off
Mm-hmm.
on the Sci-Fi Channel,
Yeah.
where they had people who were costume, not really costume, like makeup design and
Mm-hmm.
creatures design, and so that was really fun to watch. I'm pretty sure he had been like a guest on that show. He
He would
had to
have to
been
be.
because like he's one of the famous like actors that does that. But if he wasn't on that show, because I'm pretty sure that show had like 7, 8 seasons, maybe 10.
Mm-hmm.
So if he wasn't on any of the seasons, then that was
That's
just
a missed opportunity.
yeah. The Fawn's design, the Pale Man design. Did you get that? The flabby skin that creature was obese, and so when he's asleep for a long time,
Oh,
he lost all.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Yeah,
note. When I was looking at him, I was mostly paying attention to the elements of the costume itself because I was curious about how it worked. And so yeah, I noticed that he was almost certainly had to be looking out through the nostrils. Very nice touch.
Yeah.
But then also, I love the murals up behind him. I was telling the kids, I was like, oh, look, it's me, the baby eater.
yeah. And he's a baby eater, and there's the pile of shoes, kid
The
shoes.
oh yeah, the pile of shoes
Like,
was a
I think-
brutal piece of set dressing.
I think you would think this movie would have
There's
CGI,
a little,
but it's a little because I think the fairies
the fairies
and I wonder if
and the explosions. I think.
yeah the praying mantis type creature that turns into the fairy.
Yeah.
Part of the times I think that's actually a puppet that they use / CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Because Del Toro does that with a lot of the Hellboy movies,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes me wonder about that. But definitely the fairies. The fairies are completely CGI, and like I feel like the times have not been nice to those fairies because
No.
you could definitely tell.
The
I mean, this
explosions
movie-
don't look great
yeah.
either.
I mean, this movie was made in 2006, so
but
CGI was developing pretty well during that time.
I mean, like
And
there's
budget.
there's movies that get ruined by their bad CGI,
Yeah.
and I think they did so much practical and they did so much beautifully
Yeah.
in camera that like even the bad CGI couldn't really bring me down.
No. It doesn't bring this
The
movie
film
down at
itself
all.
is so strong.
Yeah.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
could
And
bring
Del
it down.
Toro's use of CGI, he really tries to.
He's very judicious
He
with it.
limits it very much. He's very much more of a practical. If he needs to do CGI, it's because he's enhancing the practical effects a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to refer back to Hellboy because he does that with Hellboy, the
Mm-hmm.
Hellboy movies. He enhances it a little bit more for his practical effects in there. Yeah.
Honestly, all of the performances were great. The little girl blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Most kid actors are kind of
Yeah,
meh.
I will say when I one of the rules, I wouldn't say really a rule, but like kind of a guideline that when I was in film school that they told us to kind of stay away from like storytelling and working with is animals and kids because you can't control animals unless trained. Even if them animals are trained, you still can't really control their behaviors. And kids, you have limitations to working hours, labor laws and stuff, and they're kids, so they also have, it is actually pretty amazing to see kid actors today that are like really good. Like we've seen Macaulay Culkin. He's he was probably one of the biggest famous kid actors, and he did quite a bit of roles. Compared to being an adult, he doesn't do anything now. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was one of the big things is like stay away from kids, stay away from having animals and pets because there's so much restraints that you have when you have those in your movies. Like it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And I genuinely I think it's so hard to miss with child actors to be able to get a good performance. Like, and again, they're kids. I don't want to sit here and like slam a kid for
No.
not being an experienced actor. They're not an experienced anything yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really surprised because I don't know. I think the thing that I'm sort of dancing around is that the movie, like, there's no other way to put it. It like shocked me because I had the impression that it was a kids movie.
It's not.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's not. Well, it doesn't help that you told me that you would let Oliver and Cadence watch it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, so I was watching this last night and yeah, the kids were sitting there watching with me and I was like, do I tell them to go away? Because I know there's some pretty brutal murders in this movie, but you know, at some point, like, it's really no different than some of the kid shows. Like, I wouldn't say like bloody murders in kid shows, but there are violent. Like, you look back at like Looney Tunes back in the day, like,
okay,
they're pretty
like,
violent.
Looney Tunes doesn't have like a graphic torture scene where you can see that someone has ripped off another human's entire finger off of their hand.
That's true.
I was like,
I mean, besides torture, I mean, Bugs Bunny shooting Elmer Fudd in the face. Like, come on, that's not
the amputation scene though.
Yeah,
come on. I'm like,
that was quick. That was quick though. That was
I
like
literally had to
a little
away.
slice, and then they cut away.
It was
get it cut away.
Hey, yeah, no, what is it? When the title card came up, so like there are things that I remember or that I know about a movie before the movie starts. Like if you were to sit me down and quiz me, the stuff that I gave you, that's the stuff where if you sat me down and you're like, Erin,
Doug
tell
Jones,
me everything.
Creature effects.
That's what I would have come up with.
Yeah.
But then, like, once the movie starts, usually, like, little things will have filtered through to me through osmosis. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is the one about Spain. I didn't realize it was in Spanish.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is the one about Spain. Oh, yeah, it's about, like, fascism, ? Yep. Okay. And then I was like, okay. And so I'm sitting here trying to put it together. And I'm still running under this assumption that it's, like, a children's movie. I was, like, trying to, like, find my footing with it. And I'm thinking, like, okay, it's a movie presumably about like, you know, childhood with like this fascist regime in the background and this something whimsical while like bad things are happening and like it's not that, but yeah, it was really different than I expected. And I think at a certain point I just kind of had to like let the reins go and be like, okay, movie, you're gonna be whatever you're gonna be, and I'm along for the ride, man. Once I kind of like let go of the movie being whatever my preconceived notion of it was gonna be, I found that what I got out of it was a bunch of my favorite things in movies all wrapped together into a package. I don't know, some of that is, you guys know me, I love some goo, I love some gore. This movie has great goo, yes. It has great gore. I like good performances, I love interesting creatures. It had all of those things, but like the two things that it gave me that I like really, I don't know, they're like my catnip, I guess, are the big, how do I even describe this? It's like a theme, maybe, of the value and importance of imagination. Mm-hmm. I'm a fucking sucker for that. As a writer, imagination is like, it's one of my most important muscles, and I will take any story about like praising its value.
And I think you're hitting like kind of the theme in Del Toro's story is like at this time we look back at history with like the fascist regimes that were developing. Mm-hmm. Imaginations, like any kind of storytelling that wasn't in their opinions and ideology gets squashed away. Mm-hmm. You know, we saw with the Nazis, they burned books that were probably, you know, about, you know, imagination, storytelling, you know.
Anything that didn't fit into their narrow worldview.
Yeah. You know, and an artistic value goes away because they, you know, people don't want to say, oh, I don't talk about politics, but like art has political meaning.
Yeah.
And we even look at today with what's going on in our society here in the United States is like, you know, they're banning books about, you know, black people's stories, you know, transgender stories. Like those books are getting banned when like that's part of That's part of us.
Yeah.
That's part of our people.
And it's only a matter of time before it's not even the government, it's people allowing themselves to be complicit with the fascism. And that was another thing. So the other piece that I'm a really big sucker for, this one's very rare for me to find, is a story that leads me all the way to the brink of hopelessness and then just gives me like that one little...
You got a little bit of hope that everything's going to be okay.
A little bit of hope right at the end. Yeah, because as you said, it's very pertinent to the right now of it all. Because, you've obviously got the captain and all of his stupid fucking guys. And there being the fascist presence in this little town. And then you also have the resistance. And the story of them is playing alongside of and is just as vital and important as the story of what's happening with the Fawn and the Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And as I was watching it, there's a lot of questions that are brought up by the movie about what is the purpose or value of resistance, especially when it seems hopeless. What kind of actions even provide any value to a resistance? What's the meaning of cowardice versus bravery when you're facing something like this? And a lot of the anti-fascist recommendations that I've heard online they're all about little things. Just be the sand in the gears, the thing that slows it down, whatever it is that you need to do. It doesn't have to be like the resistance guys who were out here blowing shit up, knocking over the train car or whatever. It can also be little things like slipping the resistance the key to the supply pantry, or just just those little tiny things. And so as a person who kind of has been paying attention to that, those little things, I instantly was able to see hell yeah, any little tiny win is a win, even if it's tiny. But at the same time, you go through the course of the movie and the resistance is on the ropes and they just keep being more on the ropes and more on the ropes and more on the ropes. And it really does lead you to this place of hopelessness where it's I looked it up literally after we had already started recording. Franco's government didn't fall until the 70s. Yeah. And so these people, they had just lost the Civil War and they weren't going to get Spain back for 30 more years. Yeah. And it doesn't end on a hopeless note, which I'm so glad, because it would have absolutely broken me. I'm trying to hold back tears even talking about it. But it really did, it did that thing where it takes you to that hopeless place where you're there's no way to solve this. Why are we even trying? Ooh. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It really did. It made me cry at the end. Because I was...
Well, it's accomplished its goal, because I think if you don't feel something for this movie, if you just watch it and you're huh, yeah, that was a good movie, then I don't think you understood the message.
Completely agree. And I think that was the thing that I was so close to breaking. And then that secondary theme came in right at the very end where okay, so the captain chases her through the labyrinth, and she's talking to the Fawn, and you find out definitively, we know for sure, the Fawn is just her imagination. Okay, he's not actually there.
I'm gonna say okay.
I like your interpretation.
I was going to touch on this, but let's keep going.
Okay,
let's keep going.
So from my perspective, we determined that the Fawn is definitively not there. She refuses to sacrifice her little brother in order to regain her position as the princess, and so the captain takes the baby and then shoots her, and she's lying there dying. And I think I literally wrote in my notes, I was she's just gonna die, and the portal's not gonna open, and why did I watch this stupid movie? And I think the thing that it did where she's clearly dying, and Mercedes comes and is singing her the lullaby as she dies, and then they change the lighting and they open it up and they're nope, here she is, she's back with her dad and her mom, and she's the princess.
She's the princess of which comes back to the beginning where it's I think it's she ran away or she got lost into the human world, but her spirit has to come back to their underworld kingdom. And so it kind of makes sense that in the 3 tasks that she was given, the first task was get the key from the frog, and how silly and that
Yeah.
was with this giant frog, and she gets the key by giving it
Excellent.
the 3
dude.
stones. Then she has to go into
the pale
world.
man's
Yeah, and
dining room or whatever.
Yeah, the pale man's, and to get like
the knife.
The knife, and it's like, well, what's the knife for? And then when you get to the end where it's about the third task is to sacrifice an innocent, and so you immediately think, oh, the innocent is the baby, but you don't really. Because it's always babies are always innocent in stories.
I immediately thought that she was going to be the innocent, and that like she would be able to offer herself. And the fact that she didn't made me so upset, because I was like, are we sitting here trying to imply that this poor little girl is anything other than innocent?
Yeah.
And so the fact that like it comes around at the end, and like the fawn's like, it turns out you are
the innocent because she did sacrifice to save the baby. So sacrifice innocent made sense and kind of a twist.
But like that last little bit where it's like, from my perspective, so again, I was working from the perspective that like this is definitively her imagination, none of this is real. And to me, like that final little bit of like, this is the final value of imagination, is like comfort, if nothing else.
So
it's like, it killed me. Okay, so you wanted to talk about
I kind of asked,
go ahead.
Is the fantasy parts, are they real or is it imagination? And the reason why I asked this, because when the mother is ill, and the mandrake, like there's so many parts that like you think about it, you're like, well, this has to be imagination, because she loves books, and that was established at the beginning, that she reads books and she loves fairy tales. So this has to be her imagination. But
then like the
there's so much stuff there, that the physical labyrinth there, like why is that there? There's like the other like kind of like, what do you call them? I guess you call them like statues or stone hedges that are just there, that really represent, like, I think the other characters like other characters definitely notice them, but they aren't really caring about them like Ophelia does. But even if towards that end where she's talking to the fawn, and like the captain doesn't see the fawn, but I feel like if you think about stories with children and fantasy, children are more acceptable to seeing fantasy supernatural things than adults, because adults have grown up. There's been stories where
that's a trope.
When adults age up and they can't see those things like children can anymore. So I mean, with this movie doesn't tell you that.
That's true.
It really doesn't. And so I was really kind of thinking, like, when she puts, I think it's like poison or some kind of medicine in his drink, that maybe he sees the fawn, but he's definitely getting effects of what she put in the drink. And I think that makes you really think about this movie, and like, well, the adventures that she goes through, the tasks, and seeing the fawn and doing all that, did that really happen, or is it just imagination? Like, it really asks you to think about that at the end of the movie. Like, did her story, like her plot, did that stuff really happen? And I question it because of, like I said, with the mother and the mandrake root, as soon as that root hits that fire, that mother, that baby, it's go time. It's go time, and it's not good.
And it's not good.
So, because like even the doctor says, I don't know how you're getting better, but you're getting better. And Ophelia was taking care of that mandrake root pretty well.
Yeah, and actually that kind of makes me think about like something that I can't help but pay attention to is like when a character is punished in a narrative. And in this case, like, as soon as the mom throws the mandrake into the fire and it starts screaming, and then she like instantly starts going into labor and it's very bad. That to me was, I looked at that and I couldn't help but be like, okay, the narrative is punishing her for not believing in magic.
Right.
And for not believing her kid. And like she winds up paying for that with her life. And that kind of got me thinking, like, I wonder if maybe what it's trying to communicate is that like magic and imagination they're the things that fascism can't touch. And maybe that's why Vidal couldn't see the fawn, is he just does not have the capacity for that kind of
Well, he really
experience.
establishes like, okay, so when they're at the dining party, and the other two ladies are like, hey, I can't remember Ophelia's mom's name, but
Carmen.
Oh, Carmen. Okay, but she's telling the story about how, because they ask her like, how did you meet the captain? And she's telling the story like, he came in. My husband worked on his suits, and then when my husband passed away, I worked in there, and he came in, and so like their relationship probably blossomed through time, and it probably was really good, actually really good thing going on. And he's like, oh, that's
Don't tell those
childish
fanciful
stories,
or whatever.
don't tell these things, that's rubbish, blah blah blah, pretty much. And the way he says it, don't waste your time on these kind of things, I mean, he gets really like, dismissive, and he's very like cold about it. You kind of think about like, well, I mean, I thought like, what is she seeing into this guy? Why would you marry somebody that's dismissive and cold? Maybe he wasn't that way before.
No, to me that was really obvious. Actually, she was, it's 1944. She has a dead husband, and it's a war. Yeah. She needs somebody who can put food on the table, and she just happened to luck into this guy who will be able to do that for her and her kid. And to me, it very much seemed like a marriage of convenience, because the captain is so cold, and it's so obvious that it's not even that he sees her as a tool. The narrative makes it very explicit. You're the baby holder. Yeah, I don't care about you.
He's more concerned about his son. So yeah,
but he sees all of the people as
that
tools.
also becomes a movie trope in so many other movies about relationships, and like, especially in movies and stories that are about family royalty. I had just watched all of the Game of Thrones latest show, and like that's the thing in that series is the bloodline and keeping legacy, and so that makes sense. For this, he's thinking of his legacy.
And they keep going back to the watch.
Yeah,
I thought it was interesting that he refused to acknowledge it when the guy at the dinner party specifically called out like, hey, isn't that like
there might have been more to the story that we just didn't get, like Del Toro didn't get enough time, because when I'm sure as a writer, you're like, I have so many characters, I don't have time,
and that's the
to
thing,
express these stories.
Yeah, there's a difference between like a gap where you're like, I really needed that information, and a gap where it's just like an interesting little nugget to make you curious about the world. And I would class this more in the second type of thing.
Yeah, because in movies you have a limited amount of time.
Is very limited
compared to writing
like
a book or a story
where you can make it long.
You could do that, and you even see that in like adaptations of books for movies.
Since we were talking about Star Trek earlier, that's a thing that's been happening on Star Trek a lot too. And I think Star Wars died of this illness where people get obsessed with little tiny details of like an original thing, and then they just zoom in onto it until they're like staring deeply at something that is so profoundly boring that no one cares. Right. And so like, especially in this movie that's like so much about imagination, that detail of like, he clearly has the watch, it's clearly broken, there's clearly some kind of lore. The lore is supposedly that it's from his dad, and his dad broke it against a rock so that his son would know the exact time he died. And then at the end of the story, that's the thing he wants his son to know about him as well. Yeah. Okay, there's some reason he decided to deny that. And we as an audience are allowed to fill that in with our own imaginations.
Because we're not getting it from
it doesn't have to be in the narrative.
It's not there.
It doesn't have to be in the narrative. That's, like I said, that's one of those gaps. As a writer, you have to balance it being lean enough that that has a strong skeleton, but fleshed out enough that there's like texture and flavor there. And to me, this adds into the texture and flavor, but it's not necessary for us to know why. And so it being removed is not that big of a deal. If Del Toro had decided to, well, I can't even imagine an elegant way for him. The only way they could have done was if he was like, yep, that's what happened. That would have been the only way to address it.
And then flashback to that scene
Ew.
as they're talking. Yeah. Which some films and stuff will do that, but
there's
like,
a value to a flashback. But
yeah.
this isn't his movie.
No, it's
like,
not.
We don't need that.
To me, this movie, it's three characters. It's Ophelia, Mercedes, and the captain. Because you get all three of those plot lines. And what's the most important? It's really Ophelia. It's the most important. And then your secondary and third is Mercedes and the captain. And kind of together. They're really together because of the resistance and the fascists going
a person
head-to-head.
of great power, a person of lower power, a man and a woman.
Yep.
So again, that power dynamic there as well. They're interesting foils for each other. But like,
yeah, because I don't even include the mother, Carmen.
No,
she's like fourth or fifth character. She's very little to do with the plot. I mean, she's kind of
that being
almost
said,
a plot device in a way with like the sibling.
Yeah,
really, she's not doing a lot.
That being said, though, there were some interesting background characters. The mom, I would agree, she is probably one of the less interesting characters. It was a very thankless role, and I think she did a great job with it because she has to be a little bit sad, a little bit pathetic, a little inspiring, a little sweet, a little cold, and she really hit all of those notes. But yeah, it was a thankless role. You're supposed to walk away from the movie and be like, man, that lady like did her girl dirty. But in terms of other roles, there were like two that kind of stood out to me. One was the doctor, who I really thought was interesting in terms of like him and Mercedes, like very quiet resistance, like working underneath the system to, like I said, throw that sand into the gears.
Yeah.
Was very interesting. And the way that the doctor went out like a boss was so cool. And the other one, I don't normally get very bloodthirsty in my notes, but I got a little bit bloodthirsty about this guy, Garces. Do you remember him? He's he's like the second in command guy.
Yeah, he's like because he's okay, yeah.
There's a couple shots throughout the movie where you can see like the doubt on his face, and it's portrayed entirely through the acting, where he's like, "Are we the bad guys?"
Yeah, I think I got that too because like so it has been a while since I've seen this movie, and I actually had bought it not that long ago on the Criterion Collection because I think I had a copy of it somewhere, but not a Blu-ray, not updated. And watching it, yeah, I definitely feel that way. Where the actions that he's doing when he's fighting the resistance, he is thinking like, yeah, we're killing these guys, but why are we killing these guys? And why? What's like it's in the acting. It's not necessarily his.
It's no dialogue.
No dialogue. It's just the way that his
overt
expressions are.
Yeah.
In his face. That's great acting. That really is. I would like to know what direction Del Toro's giving him. Mm-hmm. If he's giving him any, because sometimes when you're not the main actor, usually it's the second unit director that's doing stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, second unit's really getting like your secondary shots and smaller things. Mm-hmm. But it would be really cool to see maybe like if I have time to go back to like some commentary, if Del Toro talks about it, because I don't really jump into a lot of those special features on Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff. I just watch the movie and then I'm pretty much done.
I like the special commentary and stuff, but I don't normally have the time for it. But no, I thought it was so interesting because I was prepared. Like I was watching the subtle little acting choices this guy was making. I was like, he's gonna turn out to be a good guy. And then when they're bringing Mercedes in for her torture scene, and I was like, we're not. We already had one absolutely horrifying torture scene, and now we're going to get a bonus one with Mercedes? You have to be crazy. And he has that look where he's like, oh, this seems pretty bad, but I don't really have a good way to, get away from it. I was prepared when Mercedes leaves, after she's cut open his face. Fuck you, Captain. Her line was so badass, too. Anyway, when she comes out, and the guy sees her, and there's that moment where Garces can either be like, oh yeah, it's whatever, and let her go, or choose to go after her. And you see all written on his face, the look of like confusion,
Yeah,
Oh no, I think I
brain is
understand.
working. He's got things
I think I
thinking
know what
about
happened,
it.
and then the decision.
Because
No,
I think the other guy was like, "Oh, I think he let her go."
uh-huh. Exactly. And so he had the out, but you see the look on his face, confusion, and then like, oh, I think I understand what happened. And then that decision of like, no, we're not playing this game. And as soon as I saw that face, I was like, that's it, Garces, you have to die. And the movie,
Yeah.
the movie gave it back to me within like 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
He sees his demise because when she's running away, yeah.
That scene was so horrifying.
And
oh my god, the whole movie was so scary.
Yeah, it was like, okay, she's done for, but then the resistance comes in.
I was so shocked when it turned out her brother was with them because I thought for sure he was dead. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. That actor looks...
Yeah. Well, you definitely feel that, you felt that dread when you hear like, oh, they captured one. You think, oh, that's the brother. Uh-huh. And he's the one that's going to be tortured and all that.
I actually thought to myself, I was like, I think she's going to see that it's not him and it's... Yeah. And you're going to know then he's definitely dead. And so I actually wrote in my notes, I was like, I called it. And so actually, I take it back. I did not call it. I was sure the brother was dead. Even before the face reveal of the guy that they did capture, I was like, no, he died. He's gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that was something that I thought the movie did very effectively, and I have no idea how it did it. It was such a magic trick to me. It like put you in the shoes of the characters so hard. Like that scene where they're chasing her through the woods, riding her down on horses. I've seen videos of people being chased. They're on foot, being chased by people on horses, and I have never felt the absolute sense of horror and hopelessness that must make you feel like I did in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it occurred to me, I was like, you're fucked.
Yeah.
If someone's trying to chase you down on a horse...
And there was multiple soldiers.
And there's multiple soldiers.
And
what are you going to do?
She doesn't really have anything except that little tiny knife, little potato knife.
But like, I think that's such a good...
Yeah.
Good little thing too.
Yeah, because you feel that dread, but then that little spark of hope. Because that's the thing about these stories about fighting fascism is the spark of hope and the resistance. Because that's the key. What people had during that time. You know, we talk about like the French resistance and all the other groups that had to fight a lot of fascists until the war really kicked in. The resistance for the Jewish community that, you know, tried to fight as well. And like just the hopelessness. It's going to be interesting when we watch a movie about World War II and the Holocaust. That's going to be really interesting because it's bound to happen because we have some very important movies coming our way for that era. But it is interesting that Pan's Labyrinth was the first one to kind of cover that kind of storytelling.
Well, and like, not to put too fine a point on it, I think these stories are important of like how to resist, how to hold on to hope, even if it's just like a tiny little spark, even if it's nothing but your imagination, even if it's just like the world's tiniest knife. Those stories are very important. And I think an equally important note for today is the only reason that these characters have to hold on to their tiny sliver of hope is because once fascists are in power, it's really hard to dislodge them. So don't let them get into power in the first place.
Yeah. Even if you think it's going to make your groceries go down in price, because it's not.
Even if you think it's going to improve the gas prices.
It's not.
Getting back to the imagination thing. Oh, the part where... So the fawn comes to her after she went to go see the pale man. And it turns out she didn't follow the rules. Yeah. And the fawn basically says, like, you're not going back to your kingdom. Like, you're never going to see us again. You fucked up, and you are not... You're done. You're toast. I don't remember what his little monologue was. But the thing that, like, got me, like, stabbed me in my little heart was he was like, you're not going to see us again. We're going to be gone. And I was...
Yeah. You're running out of time. Full moon's coming.
That really killed my poor little heart. Because I got really burned out over the past couple of years. Like, I don't know how much I want to necessarily get into this on the pod, but I was at a very bad spot mental health wise. And I'm a writer. The thing that I've always done when I can't do anything else is write. And I had reached the point where I had an idea in mind. I knew exactly who the characters were. It was just going to be a little fan fiction. The characters are already baked in there for you. The setting's already baked in there for you. All you have to do is write down your little scenario. And I couldn't do it. And I thought that there was something like indefinably broken in my heart. And I was like, is this part of me gone? And so like seeing that portrayed, I was like, yeah, that's like one of the scariest things that can happen, and especially if you're a little kid. Holy shit.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel like sometimes when you're in those states, some of the best artistic ideas can come out of those states when you're just in this kind of rut where you're like, because you're feeling so many emotions, you know, and you're just like, you know, so many thoughts, because you're saying, you know, I had these ideas, you know, all I could do was like really get out of it is write and write. But could you imagine if you did write your story and what could have been?
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I think, I don't know how to describe it. There are times when, like, I'm upset and it's like a whirlwind of emotions, and that was more like a glacier where, like, there was stuff in there, but it was like locked in slow moving ice.
Yeah, that could be tough.
That sucked. And so then I was afraid, like, you know, that's it, we're not going to get anything else. And so when the fawn came back, that also stapled my heart back together, I guess. That's Pan's Labyrinth.
That's Pan's Labyrinth. So
a movie I was not prepared for. Josh, would you rewatch Pan's Labyrinth?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously it's been a while since I watched it, since we started this podcast. But yeah, this movie definitely has rewatch value to it. And that's how I always rate movies as being really good, is if you can watch it over and over again. This is definitely one you could watch over and over again, even though how sad it is. But you'll be able to see other things. Because like I said, I wasn't really paying attention at the Pale Man's thing. And so seeing the shoes again, seeing the paintings, like, you'll see things that you probably missed. So watching again, you'll probably see other things that you missed the first or second time.
Yeah.
So,
for me, I think I probably would watch it again, but this movie, like, worked me out. When it was done, I kind of just stood in your kitchen and and just sort of like stared out into space for a little bit, because it was more of an emotional workout than I was expecting. But, like, now that I know what I'm getting into, I would love to watch it again. For the podcast, I think we mostly have not had movies where I was like, ooh, I really should have seen that a second time before the pod. I think this and Eyes Wide Shut mainly, I was like, I should have watched that again, because I feel like I had to have missed something.
Yeah, I was going to say, because so far some of the movies we've watched, like, they have rewatchability for sure. Yeah. It's just, you're not really...
But, like, you don't have to rewatch it to talk about it. Like, whereas Pan's Labyrinth, by the time I was done, I was like, I should have watched that a second time before
I would say,
the
like,
discussion.
The movies like Predator and even Clerks, even the Cornetto trilogy movies, like, they're not giving you deep discussions about the subject matter that they are.
Well, and I think for me, like, the reason I felt like I should have watched it again is because, I mean, I think you could tell by my commentary during the pod, like, I was a little bit all over the place, because I had a lot of things I wanted to talk about, but, like, I don't think I necessarily put anything cogent together. And that's disappointing for the pod. But, like, for me, I think being able to go back to a movie that is, like, so loudly anti-fascist and so in favor of imagination, like, how could you not want to go back to a movie like that, even if it does have a somewhat sad ending?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did really like it. And also they had really great goo. The frog was great goo. So listeners, what do you think? Please share your thoughts with us in the comments. If you want to support this podcast, you can do so by becoming a patron at patreon.com/youhaven'tseen-that-podcast. Link is in the description. Thanks. All right, everybody, this is me coming back to say that we kind of floated away talking about comics and stuff, but we finally landed on, for next week, we're going to be doing Dumb and Dumber, because I really needed a palate cleanser after Pan's Labyrinth.
Classic comedy, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's who it is.
I'm like, I can see his face in my mind. I couldn't tell you what his name is.
Yep, a Farley Brothers movie, which they do tons of comedy movies. Tons.
So I remember when it came out, it looked stupid to me. And honestly, a lot of comedies from that era are maybe not to my taste, I think, but I haven't seen them. So only one way to find out. So that'll be us for next week. And until then, see you on the flip side. We have to find a way to end these stupid
How
things.
do we end these things?